It's hard enough to find a reliable starting pitcher these days, much less one that you can count on for being an ace or, let's say, a league winner. I've got six pitchers in mind that I think could take you a long way to winning your championship this year. And the best part is that most of them you don't even have to think about drafting until the middle of your draft. But there's one exception. So if there's pitchers been taken pretty early so far that I'm willing to go in on to take at the ADP that he's going, 34 overall, it's Garrett Crochet, who's now with the Red Sox. Now, it's funny because he seems like the riskiest out of all those early starting pitchers. Well, maybe he is based on what we saw last year, based on the fact he does not have a long track record of starting. Well, okay, he didn't start at all until last season, and then we saw how the second half ended. So I'm almost surprised he's going as early as he is because recency bias often gets the best of us. And I mean, he was dominant for a couple of months, and then after that fizzled out. And if you didn't trade him in time, you were left holding back. You were really disappointed with Crochet last year. Well, it's always about looking forward, not backward. The pitchers who were the best in fantasy last year will not be the same as the ones who are the best this year. The thing with Crochet is he would have been among the best if he was able to do what he had been doing in the first half of the season and if he were basically on any team other than the White Sox. I don't have to go into that whole weird debacle as far as him getting traded, then not getting traded, and wanting an extension, and it was botched. I mean, honestly, the White Sox, they came out okay. They get a decent haul in return for him, so I guess it wasn't too bad on them. It was just weird and really annoying because they just limited his innings from way before the trade deadline. I mean, he didn't even go 5 innings in a game once June began, much less July. I mean, it's understandable. You have a pitcher who had never been a starter. His injury report was longer than just track record in the majors, to be honest. But he actually managed 146 innings despite the weirdness of the end of the season. And now that he has been signed to the Red Sox, they're going to extend him. I can't guarantee 200 innings, but I think he can definitely surpass 150. And if he's anything like last year, he's going to be lights out again. Elite strikeout numbers, not only a 35% K rate, but his 30.7% CSW, which is called strikes and whiffs, that is seventh best among all pitchers who went for at least 100 innings last season. And if anything, the way I look at it, he'll be relatively fresh compared to some other aces, pitchers who had to go in the playoffs. I mean, he had it pretty easy, a very light workload ever since June, so he should be ready and ready to go. He should be going at least 5-6 innings per start, if not more. And so we could see the win totals actually become significant. The strikeout totals will definitely be there. And so I do think he is one of the early pitchers I'm willing to take. And in fact, I'll just say it again, I'm willing to take him before Chris Sale, who his numbers were just as good, if not better. The age difference, though, the fact that Sale's injury history is even longer than Crochet makes me more in on Crochet. Now, I don't always make it obvious when I like a player, but I'll just confess right now, I kind of like Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins. You already know the resume here. Back in 2022, won the NL Cy Young Award and had an all-star notch on his belt already from 2019. I mean, this is an ace, not just the ace of the Marlins staff, but one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy. Last year was unfortunately wiped out. So is it really as simple as, well, he's healthy now, so we should assume he's going to be in Cy Young form again? Pretty close. Already in his first couple of spring starts, he was hitting 100 on the radar gun, and he's talking like he's going to be out there as much as possible. No innings restrictions, no limitations. I believe it. Now, he did take a step back in 2023 from his Cy Young form, which is predictable and understandable, but it was definitely a big step back because his ERA went from 228 to 414. The whip rose a little bit as well, and the strikeouts did take a slight dip. Now, he's not known for elite strikeout numbers anyways, so that really shouldn't be as big a concern, and that's why, well, I don't think we can view him as one of the best pitchers in all of fantasy, no matter how many innings we think he's going to pitch. But I think he's pretty close, maybe just outside the top 10. The wins will obviously be a factor, but if you play in a league with quality starts instead of wins, that moves him up a little bit. And over his past 3 seasons, before last year was wiped out, he was averaging about 200 innings per year. He can get you that, elite ratios, good enough strikeouts just through volume. I mean, you're getting one of the potential better pitchers in all of baseball towards the middle of your draft. While you're preparing for your fantasy baseball drafts, don't forget that you can draft for best ball. Sign up right now using code Endgame on Underdog, and you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash on your first deposit and a free pick. That's right, you can get your season-long MLB Pick'ems, and pretty soon you can get your daily picks. If you haven't tried Underdog yet, check it out now and make sure you use code Endgame when you check out. Could we get that from Shane McClanahan at Tampa Bay as well? Well, I think we could. Now, we haven't seen that kind of performance from him. Obviously, another injury bounce back here that we're counting on, and another pitcher who's already looking like he's ready. Up to 98 in spring training. He's good to go. There should not be any limitations for him because he's now full 18 months removed from Tommy John. In fact, he's been named the opening day starter for Tampa Bay. Now, with McClanahan, not only do you get the promise of good ratios, more wins probably than Sandy, but you are getting elite strikeout numbers. Even though his last season, 2023, was a 25% strikeout rate, was just a little bit above league average, it really should have been higher. His swinging strike rate, whiff rate, you want to call it that, 15.3%. Just for reference, the league average is 11%. He's got the swing and miss stuff. He's still going to be, I would say, in a favorable enough ballpark context. I know some people are worried. Obviously, the Trop Dome is gone, or at least temporarily gone. They're playing in a minor league stadium, but this is not going to be as simple as saying that all teams are going to put up minor league type numbers. Now, the offensive context is not that different because really it should play about league average in terms of park factor. Alcantara and McClanahan, you're getting the dip here in terms of ADP because of the fact that they haven't pitched in so long. But I mean, you just got to look at talent. We're going to look forward, not backward. I don't care what they did or did not do last year. All right. We know these guys have the stuff to be aces. And for that reason, let's see if Jesus Luzardo, now in Philadelphia, can pitch like an ace. Last year Miami was kind of a wash for him. He did have some injuries, but even besides that, when he was out there, it just didn't look the same. In 12 starts that he made, an ERA of 5, a whip of 1.25, and less than a strikeout per inning. That's not what we had seen from him previously. He hit the 60 DIL due to a lumbar stress reaction, and obviously affected him through the entire season. But what we've seen again early in spring, hitting 98 as well on the radar gun, and he says his quote unquote arm feels alive again. Look, and I'll be honest with Luzardo, I think part of it now is just maturity. He got to kind of have a homecoming in Miami. That's where he's from. And he showed some flashes of his elite talent, but he also might benefit from going to a winning culture in Philadelphia. And he's so many good pitchers around him to learn from, like Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. He's a guy that hasn't always been mature. Remember, he's the one who broke his hand because he was angry after playing a video game. That's Luzardo. But look, maybe this time he'll finally settle down for the whole season, show what he's capable of doing on the mound. Here's another late round breakout candidate that I actually talked about on my breakout pitcher video. It is Gavin Williams in Cleveland. Now, Williams also missed time, was on the 60-day IL last year with elbow inflammation. Probably affected him as well. We saw that those numbers weren't that great. In back-to-back seasons, he's made 16 starts, but, missing the back end of 2023 and then the front end of 2024, he still has yet to really put it together a prolonged time and get that experience. So if he goes in this year fresh, then we could finally see him take a leap forward. His numbers actually went down last year from his rookie year, 4.86 ERA and a 1.37 whip. But, even though his walk rate was above league average at 9.6%, it did improve from the year before where it was over 10%. I really don't feel like we need to see him do a lot to take that leap forward in terms of production and fantasy value, because if he can just get that walk rate down a little bit, if he can stay healthy, he's got the stuff to induce whiffs as well. This could be the year it just all happens for him. Then we started with Crochet, a guy who moved from the bullpen to the rotation with great results. Let's do it again with Clay Holmes for the Mets. Holmes, you might know, is a displaced closer for the Yankees and now becoming a starter for the Mets. And this seems like a smart move. Now, Holmes probably caught a little bit too much flack last year for not finishing games. Yeah, he did blow a couple of saves, but overall he was pretty effective in that role. And I think he can actually be more effective as a starter because his stuff lends to that. He already has a multiple pitch mix that is extended now to 6 because he's adding some pitches in the offseason. What we've seen early in the spring, He's throwing a sinker, a sweeper now, a changeup, a four seam fastball, which he actually didn't have before, a cutter, and the slider. The idea here is to have more things to throw at left handed batters because he's going to be going longer. And by all accounts, they looked pretty good. I mean, he was able to induce some whiffs. I think that he has the stuff to go 5, 6 innings per start. Some people will be worried about that, just like they were worried about Crochet last year. And again, this is not going to be the same situation. He's not quite as young. This is also a player that the Mets are getting because they expect an extended playoff run again. And so Holmes won't be a guy that they're going to have to hold back because, he's on the trade market, whatever. Look, his goal, he said, is to throw at least 150 innings this season. I think he can do it. Maybe he can surprise us with even more. No, he didn't finish last year as strong as he had the previous couple of years with the Yankees. Remember that before that, he had 3 straight years of elite production and limiting hard contact against hitters, top 5 percentile in expected slugging, and top 10 percentile in expected ERA. Things definitely change when you're out there for longer, not just one inning at a time. But I look, Holmes has put in the work. He's in a pretty good situation here. The ballpark factor is going to be better for the Mets as opposed to the Yankees. I think he's going to be a sneaky value in a lot of leagues. Those are some of my favorite pitchers to take in fantasy drafts right now. If you want some more, how about some of these undervalued pitchers that are just not getting enough respect? Check that out.